and it wraps around the tube when it's sanding, so it sands it. That didn't look good. Come on, stay with me, folks. It's funny yet not funny that I couldn't get that piece to stick earlier, but now it won't come off. Great. Anyways, let's stop pussing out. But damn, that hurt. Hitting it up and down. Hitting it up and down. Okay, anyways.
Sorry, bro, but this show's about me.
Good morning. We left off at the point where we already did the slugs and did all that stuff. So today I came in, I forgot to turn on the camera. I came in and I put I think this was quarter inch thick plate at the bottom, and then a 1/4 inch stick across the top, and squished where the two pieces are coming together, and it like whoop, straightened it right out. So just kind of wanted to see. Looks like we're a little bit, let me tell you right now. We're a little high in the ass end of it, so we'll go down just, less than a degree, like 3/4 of 1 degree. So it's not much. Visually, nobody would see it, but I want to make sure we're right there, so that way I know it's zeroed out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and swap out the MIG welder. See, I don't use big, huge, fancy stuff. This thing will do up to 1/4 inch, no problem. And I don't see anything car or truck related that I would need anything bigger. So we're going to swap out the MIG welder for the TIG welder. Now, the only problem I see today is I don't have much welding gas left. Come on, stay with me, folks. I don't think we have enough welding gas. So on a lot of these tanks and these welders and stuff like that, it'll go down to 0, and then you have who knows how much time until it's actually all gone. I have little, see my pockets, they're not very deep, not deep at all. So I use it till it's gone. I really need to invest in buying a brand new tank, another tank, and having one so I can swap out. But again, short pockets. Not very deep at all. So the reason you could probably go ahead and do this with the MIG welder. I'm going to do it with the TIG welder because I like TIG welding better because I can see the penetration happening. I can see when all 3 metals are puddling together, and then I'm adding filler rod to build up. So that's why I like to use the TIG welder when I'm doing stuff, especially, I don't build frames from scratch, but anytime I'm doing accessories that connect to the frame, whether it's mounts, license plate mounts, brake brackets for like sproters and stuff, fender struts, fender mounting bungs, stuff like that, TIG weld everything. And the reason I do it is because I want to make sure I see both of those metals welding together. Sometimes with the MIG welder, I'm not the best MIG welder. I use it for spotting a lot of stuff in, or if I'm doing like 1/4 inch stuff on a frame or something like on the car, I can sit there and I'm going slow enough, I can watch it. But when you're going with some of the thinner stuff, shit just happens so fast, you know? And then if you're gonna grind it and smooth it out so that you don't see the weld, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm trying to weld this tube up, and then I'll probably go to Tony's because mine broke, but have a tubing polisher, but it has sanding belts on it, so you can polish the tube or sand the tube, and it wraps around the tube when it's sanding, so it sands it. That didn't look good. It sands it down so it looks like it's one piece of metal, like you just heated up and bent it in, which would have been great, but at the very front I had even tighter bends, and I'm not that good with tubing benders, so so that's why I'm doing the splice. Also, I might just go ahead and, since it's going to be underneath the seat, once I get it polished out, we'll just see how everything looks and stuff like that. I might even cut a piece of tubing and cope it and slide it in right where that weld seam would be. And that way, that'll be another point to keep it from flexing or trying to break or anything like that. So that's that's the objective today, is to get this welded up, get it smoothed out, get it all lifted. Remember, we talked about lifting the tank and lifting the ass end up probably about 1/4 inch so that we have a little bit more clearance on the motor. And once we do that, we're going to weld it all in, and then we're going to move on to the back section like we talked about, the rear support and the shock mounts. So let's get this thing fired up and start melting some metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and weld. This one here has a pretty good gap on it, so I'm going to go ahead and weld it across this way, and then I'll go onto that one and I'll weld it across that way. And then I'm going to come back in because it's at a weird angle. It's touching on the insides, but it's not on the outside. The outside has the gap. So I'm going to go ahead and weld across this way, and then my chop saw kind of moved on me, so I have some little pieces, little slices in this metal that I need to go ahead and repair, so that way when we sand it down, it'll be all smooth. It won't have those scratches in it anymore. But what I'm going to do is, after I weld the outsides, then I'll come to the inside with my cutoff wheel, and I'm going to cut a gap in there so I can see that inner tube, and then I'll come back through and I'll weld it. That way I get full penetration around those slugs inside and out. So oh yeah. She flat like some girls' butts. Whoop, whoop. All right, let's get the air hose and let's cut those notches on the insides. Oh, forgot to turn on the air today. That's how you can tell it's cold. Went outside for what, a couple seconds, and glasses are all fogged up. There we go. You know what's crazy? I just now thought about it. In the breakdown video of this bike, I was wearing this shirt, or this hoodie. So I've had this hoodie for a while. Schultz Designs. He's a pretty famous painter out in California, I believe Northern California area, if I'm correct, like the Bay Area. Unknown Industries and all those people, they use him. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Same hoodie, same bike. That's actually pretty sad, but shh, don't tell the owner. Oh, I'm good with that. Coming back in action. Cool, so I have it welded. I've been kind of watching to make sure it's not flexing and moving and stuff like that. So I think I'm safe to go ahead and crack it loose from the frame. So I can weld really good on the bottom sides of it. And then I can do the metal finishing like I said, and then we'll come back and we will hook it all up. So let me cut it loose. just by visually inspecting it, looks nice and straight still. Cool. So I'm gonna move over to the fab table and get this thing all welded up. Like I said, I'm gonna run over to Tony's, use his machine to clean it all up, or maybe I'll just run and go borrow it. I think I'll probably just run and go borrow it, bring it back, get it all polished up, and then let's get this on here. So that's it for now. Let me get this done and we'll be right back. So I text Tony, he was in his shop, so he didn't get his text until he went outside to smoke a cigarette. So that took a little bit too long, and I was really, once I get going, I don't want to stop. So, whoa, all kinds of stuff going on here, huh? So I had to do it the old school way. If you follow me, my machinist and I, Scott went over to his friend Andy's place, and that's where they were doing their twin cam swap, and Andy was ham filing it, and that's the old school way. It's pretty much what I did. I knocked down the high spots with my die grinder. If the tube is this way, you want to kind of go like that with it to kind of knock down the high spots. That keeps you from, if you just grind, you're going to put flat spots in the tubing. I hit the high spots and try to get it as close as possible. Then you go with a file and you sit there and you file it and file it and file it. And then I hit it with a like a blending disc that I make. And then I DA it. And so that's what we came up with. So there's no flat spots in it. I don't want flat spots in it, because if you powder coat or something like that, you're going to see those flat lines. Powder coat won't fill up a flat line like that, or deep scratches. A lot of people think, oh, just powder coat it, it'll be fine. If you leave it with deep scratches in it, it won't ever, you'll see them. So got that done. It's not welded back in. I just kind of have it sitting here because I got to measure this, set it back on there, run a flat line, see how much clearance I have from the top of the motor, and then I can start welding it on there. So what I'm going to do is start doing that. But I just wanted to show you that. Got that all smoothed out. It looks like one piece now. And on the other side. So it is to my liking, so we're going to press forward and start, like I said, get this adjusted and then get it final welded up here in the front. When I do weld it, I will show you that right before I weld it up, I will draw a line, I will drill holes in there, clean it, deburr it, and then we'll set this back in place, tack weld it, and then come through with the TIG welder and really weld it in real nice and pretty. That way, like I said, if I need to run wires through the frame, I still have some channels to get the wires through. So let's go ahead and take this off and get it spaced up a little bit and see where we're at and go from there. All right, so I deburred the inside of this so you can run your finger through there and you don't have to worry about anything catching or rubbing and scratching and stuff. You could even put your inside there and no problems. Tech tip, if you can put your in there, you need to get some pills. But no, if you like, it's got to be smooth enough, you know, that nothing's gonna hang when you're sliding wires in and out. Same thing with the holes. You can put your finger in there and rub it around and nothing's gonna happen. Same on the other side, all cleaned up. So this will line up right with that, right about there actually. So let me go ahead and get this kind of set up and get everything lined up and put a couple of tacks, and we will double check levelness this way and this way. Come on. I believe I have everything squared as far as center of the tire to the center of the piece going up. And then I also have it right now at 0 as far as this way. So I'm going to go ahead and tack this side. The side to side, it's like 0.3 of a degree. So just a tad off. So then we'll probably push that side down just a tad bit and then tack that in and then kind of see where it starts to settle. Hell yeah. We are zeroed out, folks. We'll go ahead and leave that in there while we do some more welding. Whew. So I got it welded on a good portion of the way around. Took that plate out. There's some flex to it, but a lot of that will go away once I put some gusseting in there, and then once I put a bar here, that's gonna have no flex. I definitely have to make sure this structure is rigid as hell, because the shocks, the whole back half of the bike is gonna be supported on this, so I'm gonna run probably a cross brace here to help support, and then I'll run probably one where that bend is at, like right here, and then we'll do some more here just to keep it nice and rigid. So yeah, so let me go ahead and cut this plate off so I can go ahead and get some weld around the back side of both pieces, and then we'll start adding in our linkages. It's funny yet not funny that I couldn't get that piece to stick earlier, but now it won't come off. Great. Not that it won't come off, it's just hard to get the grinder in there, so. It's just like barely touching the weld. Yeah, Adam. Let's see if I can chisel it off. If I chisel my nizzle, hell, most of the weld came off on that plate. Jeez, that looks good. Well, hell, I'm gonna have to pull the motor out to get the bottom of that. Yeah, I'll need the motor out to get to that bottom side. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and move on for a sec. And go ahead and move on and start figuring out. God, that just sits good. See if my fat ass bends it. Dude, this is gonna be sick. I'm gonna be lower, probably like this. The rear controls are right here. This is gonna be good. So, I don't remember where I was at last time because I walked around and thought and looked and kind of planned and stuff like that. And what I'm finding out is I don't like the way, because I want this angle for the shock as well, so everything's leaning in the same direction. The problem is this is so far back, and usually a traditional cafe race bike, there's a big hump there, and then the shock is usually over here. So what I'm thinking of doing is, long time ago when I made these mounts, these upper mounts, I made some lower mounts. And what I did is I made a bung that's threaded. So that way you don't have to have a nut or anything. You can just put the bolt in from the outside and should clean it all up. You don't have to put a wrench in the backside. So I want them to stick off of the swing arms. So to achieve that, what I'm doing is, how did I do that? So the swing arm's gonna sit, and then I'm gonna actually, so this will sit against the swing arm. This one's out, what are these? 3/16 of an inch. So when I put the magnet on, this mount will be 3/16 of an inch off of the swing arm. So that way the frame doesn't interfere with the swing arm in any way. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the shock position this way. I think it is going to kind of throw off the leverage and stuff for the shock. So this shock has been designated for this bike, but it's not going to be that big of a difference. I could let off some preload or add some preload. This is an adjustable Olin shock, so I can adjust dampening. I think this is dampening. I don't think it's rebound. I think it's dampening. So I have some adjustments that I can make on this shock to make up for that. So if moving it over here is too stiff, I can soften the shock up to make it ride normal again, or the way it should again. So here's just kind of an example of what I'm doing is I'm going to take the same shock angle, but I'm going to move it forward. And then that'll give me that little tail section that most of these cafe race bikes have. So it is going to have a different one. I've thought of all kinds of stuff, making some kind of cool thing that came off of here, mounting the shocks like this would be pretty sick. I don't know how to do the math to see if that would work or if I'd have to get different shocks or how off these shocks would be to do something like that, but that'd be pretty sick if, you know, just think if you had two shocks up here and then a bar back here that curved up, and that's what pushed up and down, and then this would be all open. Then you would just mount something maybe on the inside to hold the seat pan. Dude, that's pretty trick looking if you think about it. How cool would that be to take Remember I told you that's why you come to this channel, is you're gonna be here while I'm thinking and moving things and building on the fly. How crazy would that be? That would look sick. I'm gonna make some phone calls and dude, that would be sick. And then I could have have a cool bracket that came up this way to mount, so it'd follow the tire, and then I could just delete these completely, and then I could just make a mount that comes from here and goes here and then up and then holds the tail section over. So this would be completely open, plenty of room for exhaust systems and stuff. And then it'd be inbound, two shocks. I mean, it would have been smart to have just ordered one big shock and put it right smack dab in the center, but to put two on it would be sick. Okay, I'm gonna call a couple of people, see if they'll talk to me and kind of go over it, and we shall be back. Oh, this is gonna be sick. Dude, that would be so dope. Okay, let me go make a call. Peace. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I called my buddy and he said, that's a negative. He said, the structure I would have to make for here would be so big and bulky, it would run into stuff. There's not enough meat here, like on a late model twin can or a M8 Softail. It's the big, huge base. And then he sent me over, he's like, go look at, you know, FXR division. When they did that FXR with the thing, well, that was all Softail stuff. So it was a Softail shock with the Softail swing arm. And then, you know, so it's all bulky. It was made for that. He said it'd be too bulky here. So I'm going to go ahead and just move the shocks forward and we'll go from there. So yeah, let me go ahead and weld these mounts on and we'll go from there. That was a bummer. It would have been freaking dope though, right? So, yeah. If it was a budgetless build, I would just build a brand new swing arm from scratch and we would move forward. But, you know, you got to go with what you got to go. You don't want to have a $200,000 fucking Sportster cafe racer bike that, you know, it's going to be, it's not a budget build, but it's going to be a nice bike. But we're just not going to throw crazy money at it, but it's going to be a respectable bike out there on the street. So, all right, let me get back to this. Let me get this built and we'll go from there. Crap. So I came into the shop today and this is what I came up with. Little template. It's just kind of so I can kind of visualize. Some people can't visualize when they're looking at something in the whole scope of a build, and it's kind of hard to visualize what you're wanting. And so I can picture it in my head, but I got to put it to paper. So let me throw it on here real quick and show you kind of what I'm thinking. Kind of going with this. My thinking is I want as much opening here as possible, so I don't want the gusset to go way back here. So that's why it's kind of short on one side. And then the longer part here, I kind of wanted to kind of simulate or kind of flow with this. So they're both going, so this is coming up and then they're both curving. So that's what I came up with. So now what I'm going to do is now I got to think of how I'm going to tie this one into here. And what I really want to do is I got to get this piece to be completely connected to this one. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull off the whole ass end of this bike, which I know it sucks, like on and off. But anyways, I'm going to take the whole ass end of this bike off so I can cut and grind and get this to come loose. I'm going to take this tube out. I'm going to go buy some more tubing this size and put some heat to it and kind of get my little chicanes. Some curves. If I have the tubing bender size here, I'll do it with the bender. If not, I'm just going to do it with some heat. But yeah, so I'm going to cut this out and then I'll tie it back into the factory location and I'll make my own bends. I'll cope it. I'll weld it to these mounts so that these mounts will be exactly where they're going to be. And then I'll make some of these templates or these plates here and I will weld one from the back side, one from the backside, one from the front side, and then I will weld it in and smooth it all out, and then I'm going to put like just a decorative piece. It'll help make it stronger, but it's just going to kind of give it a little bit of definition, I guess, instead of just flat plates. I want it to have a little something there to spice it up a little bit, and then I will take a strip of sheet metal here. Once that's all welded together, then I'll take some if I can do 11 gauge, I like to do 11 gauge, if not maybe a little bit thinner. But I will go ahead and wrap all of this and tie it all in, weld it and smooth it all out. So that way it's like a block, but handmade block, I guess you would say. We should be able to move forward and cut the rear mounts, these rear shock mounts off. Weld these ones in. Gonna talk to Chris about getting rid of the stock caliper mount and put in some kind of cool, maybe like that cast looking PM 4-piston caliper. I think that would go really good with this whole build. So talk to him about that so that way I can get rid of this whole cast piece, make a new bracket to hold that mount here or maybe back here. Actually, we'll probably put it at the bottom just because it'll look good and it won't interfere with the exhaust system that we will be building soon. So yeah, let me go ahead and start getting this stuff cut up and then I'll show you what else I do from there. All right, peace. Took that slug out. So what I did is I cut along the weld line until I actually cut the piece off, and then I ground in that shape. Can you see that? It's like a shape. So I just kept grinding on that until I could see the little crack, and then I put this sledgehammer in there, or what's it called? Slide hammer. I put the slide hammer in there and It wouldn't come out, so I put some heat. It wouldn't come out, so I put some heat with the torch, which almost caught the bushing on fire on the rear mount. But boom, 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 got it out. So that's the piece where this slug goes inside. So when I build my new piece, it'll slide inside there, and then I'll come through, and then I'll TIG weld all the way around it. And I think I can get rid of this mount, because this is where the actual foot peg mounts. And so I think I can cut this one off and get rid of that. And then if I don't need these tabs, I'll come back through and I'll cut this one off and smooth it out. And then I'll probably cut that one off and smooth it out too. Just so it doesn't look like something's missing. Because right now, if you look at it, you're like, wait, what goes there? And what goes there? What? These two, I know what goes there. This one, I don't even remember what goes there. So probably cut that guy off. But like I said, now I can grab piece of pipe like this and set it in there and then TIG weld it in there, and it'll be nice and stout, and then it'll come straight up to the shock mount. So let me start cutting this one away and heat it up and pop it out, and we'll move on. So I got the pieces out. Here's the one from the primary side. Here's the one from the exhaust side. This one's still hot from warming it up. Oh, man. So I couldn't use the slide hammer. That didn't look right. I couldn't use the slide hammer. So I put this wrench, and I got it pretty close to where it was holding from the bottom, and I was hitting it with my hammer. And I hit, and I missed, and I smacked myself right in the face. Ugh. My jaw hurts so bad. I don't know if you can see that welt right there. See that bump? See how I don't have one here? Ugh. And my jaw, oh my God. Like, I just smacked right and, oh my gosh. Anyways, let's stop pussing out. But damn, that hurt. Oh, have you ever like swung and smacked yourself in the face with a hammer? Probably not, but anyways, check this out. So now these are both open all the way to this is just casting. And so these big tubes, when they're solid, they slide in there, and then they weld on the outside of them. 1.375, so that's 3/8, so 1 inch and 3/8. So I will see what kind of 1 3/8 tubing I can find, because yeah, because it's just bigger than that 1 3/4 I have. Anyways, but yeah, so I had 1.5 inches somewhere around here. That's 1 inch. No, I had 1.25 inches, and it didn't fit, so 1 3/8. We're coming for you. Yo, so my face is feeling better today. Man, I had a headache last night. But anyways, I was going to show you. Let me find it first. So these mounts that I had machined, they were 2 different sizes. One was smaller than the other, so I machined them down so you can kind of see where it's on the back of the lip. I machined it down so that way it's the same size. And the reason I was grabbing from this side to machine this down, so I'll be cutting off some of this excess. So that's what that is. Now that those plugs in the frame are out, I went ahead and put the rear end back on, shocks back in place, put them back to the same 69-degree angle that this is at. I think it was a different angle when it was over there, but everything's moving. So I always, anytime I'm measuring something, I always put it off of the base here of this frame jig rather than just whatever it's at, because concrete, I mean, I have cracks all over my concrete, so the floor kind of moves a little bit. So I always zero it out on the base of the table and then go with that. So if I'm going this way, I'll zero it out this way. If I'm trying to find something here, I'll zero it out this way. So that way I make sure it's with everything that's in line there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to probably get my bender down and roll out some radius bends and see. I really want this to kind of have a curve to it. So I'm gonna get some, I think I'm gonna do 1 1/4, and then I'm gonna step it, because this was originally 1 3/8. So I think if I go 1 1/4, it'll still be strong enough. So I'll have to make like a plug to go in here, and then the sleeve for that to go in. So there's gonna be some machining involved, and got to make it look kind of cool. I kind of want to have welds this way and welds that way with it coming out, look like a little rose or something. But I'm gonna do that, and then put the curve, and then if I have to, I might put the other end in just a regular tube bender and bend it just a little bit, or I might just heat it up and put some bend in it. Not sure yet, but I think I want to do a little bit of a radius just so it kind of goes with the wheel a little bit. That's what I'm thinking in here. Yeah, I really think it'd look nice if it was like that. So let me get the bender down and start bending that out. Let's see how that looks. So that's sometimes the bad thing about these benders is like it starts to do a twist while it's bending back and forth, and I didn't catch it because I don't have it bolted down. So if I was trying to pull on it and do that, it would start to slide and stuff like that. So it is what it is. So I'll be cutting it right down in the center, and I'll be using each piece, so one for each side. So that'll get that twist out of it, because the twist usually comes right in the middle-ish. So I can kind of cheat that out, so I'm not too worried about that. So let's get this finished. So when bending that tubing, you won't, it won't bend all the way, the radius all the way to the end, because you have to stop, because there's going to be the gaps between the two rollers. So you can kind of see where it's radiused and then it stops and it goes flat. So that's more material that's kind of wasted that won't be used, but it's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm very happy with that. That looks good. Right here, it goes with the wheel pretty well. I know up here it starts to flare out, but right here it goes really well. So I think that's what we're gonna go with. Sweet, Sam D. Yo, so came in today and machined some sleeves, because 1 3/8 was not available at my supply places, and I didn't want to order it in, so I just went with 1 1/4. So I machined these little sleeves. Didn't think about it, but it's curved, so I had to beat it on. I had to hammer it on. There we go, hammer it on. So once I did that, then I was gonna, remember I told you I was gonna do the cool little thing. It didn't look right, so I went ahead and marked where it was at, and just nice, gently cut it off with a cutting wheel. So I was gonna show you when I remove it. That's how thin it is. Little sleeve, just to take up that gap. And then now I have, see the taper in it, how it tapers. So it'll line up perfectly with those plugs in the frame. So we'll move forward from there. Now when I weld this in, I will just weld it in, and it'll look very similar to stock, except for it'll be nice and smooth out, TIG welded, not MIG welded by a robot. All right, so I got it cut. I got the tubes cut down, and I'm about to get the acetylene torch out and heat up these tubes and kind of bend them where I want them. So you can see I got the nice arch. There's not enough material here, and one side is lower than the other side on the frame, so I couldn't put it in a bender and make sure that I was going to have everything right. So what I did is I went ahead and made a set of the plates that I'm going to be welding onto the outside. That way I have this, and this is going to be my gauge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and heat it up here, and then slowly start bending this up. And I want this to be in the center of this, because that's where I'm going to mark it, notch it with a hole saw, and then I'll grind it out, make it big enough so that the mount will go in there, and then we'll bring a mount from the back side and get it all welded in. So here goes nothing. Let's see how this goes. And there you have it. I didn't cut the tube short enough, so they kind of stick out, so I will have to heat this up. I gotta cut them lower so that they hit lower than this bar. I don't know if you can see that. So it hit the bar, so I couldn't pull them this way, so I'm gonna have to cut these down and then bring them in so that they come right next to this plate. But that's what it looks like from the side now. Got a nice little curve. I think I gotta pull one of the two. It's just hard. I'm gonna have to measure it, but I feel like that one on that side is just a little bit this way. I like the bent tube better than it being just a straight tube. All right, time for a little update. I got those heated up and bent over. Cut them down a little bit more. You can see I went ahead and so the upper shock mounts that I made are 1.25 inches. So what I did is when I did this, I did 1.25 inches and I made sure that these two were lined up. Bent this in that, so that I could see the bar inside the hole, kind of centered in the hole. And then I took 1.25 inches hole saw, went right through there. So now I have the fish mount cups on both of them. Now you can see that it goes right through both of them. You can see the welds are a lot more flush. I did a kind of like a root pass, and then I came back through and did like a cap on it so that they'll be nice and pretty. I'll probably go ahead and get like a flap wheel or something like that and blend them in so they're nice and smooth. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean up this mess. Get the rear wheel and all that stuff in, the shocks back on, and then put the shock mounts in there and see where they're at. Ooh, it's a cold one. So I started working and I forgot to push record, so let me fill you in on what we got going on. So I did make the templates. I did get these machined out the correct lengths. I still got to cut this one down. I got to mark them and cut them down a little bit and then weld them in and then grind it all smooth. But just to show you, kind of like a before and after. So this is where I welded it. I TIG welded it in and then actually kind of ground it a little bit. And I was like, man, I didn't throw down a fat enough bead. So I kind of had to do like a weave weld. I don't know how to walk the cup and do the weave weld, but I just was kind of like hitting it up and down. Hitting it up and down. Okay, anyways. But so you can see here where the weld is still there. That's the look I want when it's all said and done. I want this to roll over and just be a part of all of this. So that's what I came up with. I did cut some smaller pieces and I'm gonna weld those on there. And then I'll weld it through here and across the top, and then I'll come through and I'll blend that all in so it'll kind of have like a little stepped look so it doesn't look just like a flat plate sitting on the outside of something. But when that's on there and welded in there, the sheet metal from the tail section will come down and should be real close to that, so it'll give it a nice detail underneath the sheet metal. So just kind of have those tacked for now. I got to do all the welding on the inside, and then I'll put my cap on the outside. I'll be welding the insides around here. Also, I'm going to do probably a weld under here. Then I can take the frame out of the cradle, set it on its side, weld it, grind it, metal finish it, do all that really cool work. And then when I'm done with that, then I'll put it back on the cradle, put the motor, rear end and stuff back on it, and then we'll lift it up, take it off there, and then we'll bolt the front end on it, and it'll be a full roller. And then we can start designing the rear tail section and modifying the tank to sit on there and start figuring out how I'm going to do tank mounts. More than likely the tank mounts will be a part of where the new hangers for the hydraulic mechanisms will probably go under the gas tank, so you won't really see them. Like I said, I have some ideas. Somebody came up with an idea of putting the oil tank and the swing arm off of a Buell, and I was like, oh, that'd be sick, but I don't know anybody's who's got a Buell swing arm. Plus, not really sure that Buell swing arm will fit on a 06 Sportster chassis, and we're not doing a $100,000 build, so we're kind of going to make do with what we have. Now that's got me thinking again. So this is more stuff where I'm kind of like, oh wait, so I could do an oil tank in the front. I can put an oil tank on the swing arm. I've done that before. I'm gonna have to do some thinking, but let's move on with everything else, and then I can always do the swing. I can always unbolt the swing arm real quick, build an oil tank, leave it in the swing arm. That'd be something different, that's for sure. It'd be strong. So, all right, let me go ahead and finish getting this all done up and metal finish and show you that, and we'll be back soon. Not gonna lie, I'm very excited. We're getting so close. So I gotta clean these up. But what I did is I went ahead and made filler panels because this is all welded in, blended in, welded. I've got the inside welded and kind of smooth. Well, got a little bit of smoothing to do here. I noticed when I was grinding on here, there's some cracks showing, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and dig out the crack and then re-weld it and then grind it. I think it just wasn't, just the thicknesses weren't right when I welded it, and so when I ground it down to get it all nice and smooth, it was too low on the inside or the outside, one of the two. So we're gonna correct that so that we don't have any problems. I did weld it on the insides, welded all the way around on both the inner plates backside and the outer plate backside and the inner plate backside. So now I cut these out. I'm gonna clean it up, then I'm gonna cut the notches here, and then I'm gonna start in the front. That's going to go in here to go around this bar, and then I'll slowly start forming it and tack welding it all the way here, and then I'll do my welds. Then I'll take the other side that's cut, I'll put it up against there, tack it in, roll the bends over, and then weld that all up, and that'll close these all up, so they'll just be solid mounts. But instead of just setting everything there and just welding the outside, I made sure all of the internal stuff is all TIG welded as far and as close as I could get. That way we have a lot of strength in there. So let me clean these up. Plasma cutter cut kind of crooked. I think I need to change my consumables because it's not an actual circle. It's kind of oblong looking with some flat spots, but I'm cutting it anyway, so whatever. Yeah, let me get these cleaned up and start getting them installed. Oop, forgot this one. So, what an ass whooping. Check out the shop. Yeah, fabrication can get messy. That's why I wish I had like a grind room or a fab room, and then like a clean room, and then a showroom. But one day, maybe. But that's what we got. It's real bulky looking. I'm not particularly happy with it. But it's going to work. It's going to do the job. It is crazy stout now. With all of that welding and fabrication, welding and gusseting and all of that stuff, like it's, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look horrible. I mean, that's a cool, nice, smooth transition. It still needs some more metal finishing. But I'm not hating it, but I'm not like completely in love with it. Yeah, see, there's some where the weld was a little bit low, so I gotta probably run another bead through there and then clean that all up. The front's kind of, because it tapers in, that kind of didn't have too much of a gap, but the back's got a huge gap, and I didn't want, I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I think what I might do is get a piece of 1-inch tubing and cope it, and then just use it as a connection piece across. That way it keeps it sturdy here, and then I'll still be putting a plate up front. So I think once I do that, it'll look really good. It looks all janky, but that's just the edge of the plasma cutter when it was cut and everything. So clean up the shop a little bit, clean up my work area and put my welder stuff away. And then I'm gonna slap the motor back in it and the rear end on it and dangle it up. Well, I have to get the front end down from upstairs. So get the forklift, get the front end. But I think tonight before I go home, it's gonna be rolling on its 2 wheels. So, and we'll get it up on another build, not a build stand, but a lift over there. So I can start metal fab for the tail section and the gas tank. So let me do this. Well, here it is in all its glory. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Now you can see we got the wheel. Look at that disc. I think it's a 19-inch front with a 15-inch front rotor. Just something different. Yeah. It looks tiny. It looks so tiny. But I'm very happy with it. Yeah. Came out super flat, super straight, super short like I wanted it. The shocks, like I said, I wanted the shocks to be at the same angle as this post here. I'm really pumped on this thing. This is cool. Like, it's gonna be, it's a little taller than I thought. I thought it looked tiny, but with the seat on here, it's gonna be up high. That's pretty cool. I think the bars are too wide, so I'll probably narrow them up just a little bit, because this just seems like real wide. I think just a couple inches off of that. The reverse levers are super cool. Really. Yeah. Plenty of room for that little thing back there. You know what? That's too far forward. It's going to be back just a little bit, but see, and that's the thing, is I've seen all these baggers with the cut-ins on the tanks, and they just look horrible. I mean, that's the worst. I think Triumph, is that what this is off of? A Triumph? Yeah, I think Triumph had it made right the first time. This flows with the frame. It flows with my legs. Like if you drew my leg, you're drawing it out, and it just flows, and then it goes out. The baggers are like a big old straight slot, and it's got like a 90-degree bend that's probably like a 1/2 inch radius. It's like, that doesn't flow. I hate bagger cutouts. I hate a lot of bike cutouts. Maybe I need one of those little gear-operated throttles, would be pretty cool. I'd like to make my own, but there's some, I mean, why reinvent the wheel when there's already some available online? I like it. I'm digging it. Now it's time for sheet metal work. Let's put this Sosa hammer to use. Let's get this rack cleaned off. Actually, we'll do that tomorrow. And I'll start making templates so I can start doing some sheet metal work. I do got to buy some stuff. I did use that hammer the other day. Holy crap. It was like crack, 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 and it was taking off, and dies were flying everywhere. So it's kind of a bummer that the dies didn't stay on like I hoped they would. So if anything, I'll probably just grab a rubber band and put it over there. But anyways, yeah, good stopping point for today. And we'll see you tomorrow.